Hi everyone, Happy New Year. It is the end of Vlogmas, it is the end of 2022, and I thought the best way to both end this year and kick off the new year is by going over my bucket list for 2022, my 22 in 2022, and then talk about my bucket list for 2023, 23 in 2023. But I'm going to keep referring to it as my bucket lists, mainly because in my life I've suffered from speech impediments and I am tripping over this 2022. My tongue just is tripping over this, and for the sake of clarity. So we're going to go over my 2022 bucket list and what I accomplished, what I didn't accomplish, and fair warning, there's a lot I did not accomplish on here, partly because of really fully dropping into kidney failure this year. I have polycystic kidney disease, a genetic kidney disease, and I am in kidney failure at this point and will be starting dialysis in about a week. This last 6 months has been really hard. So suffice it to say that I have not done everything I wanted to do this year. So there are going to be items that jump from this year's bucket list to next year's bucket list. And there's going to be some that I'm letting go of. The other thing I did differently this past year, since I was working with the Moxie Life, was I divided this bucket list up based on what goal categories they best responded to of the 8 areas of life in Moxie Life. And I'll talk about them as we go through. I'm going to continue that in 2023. So let's get started first with checking in on this past year and how things went. This first group comes from the personal category, which is one of the 2 categories I really wanted to put a lot of focus on this year. So it was reflected in how many items are in this group. Number 1, buy a large houseplant for the front room. I did that. I did that back in May. Not only did I buy one for the front room, I got one for my bedroom. They're both surviving. We've had some ups and downs over the course of the year, but I did, in fact, keep them alive, which was kind of the point of the bucket list item. It wasn't just to have a big plant, but it was to improve at my plant care enough that I would feel confident buying a big plant, that it wouldn't be a waste of money. And so far, so good. Number 2, complete a large-scale acrylic painting. I did not do this. I started one, and it has been on my easel for months now. And I just, as my kidneys have gotten worse, as I've felt crappier and crappier, my creative practice has definitely been something that's fallen to the wayside. So starting a new part of my creative practice really did not happen this year, when it comes to art, at least. I'm not going to be carrying this one over. I would like to continue to experiment with acrylic in this next year, but I'm not going to put the pressure on myself to do it as part of any sort of list like this, because it just wasn't, it didn't happen. Number 3, another one that did not happen, was feel confident with walk tossing. And the biggest reason this one didn't happen, I was starting to make progress on it the first half of the year. When my kidney function tanked in the second half of the year, I didn't have the energy to cook dinner at all, let alone learn how to toss, like make the stuff flip in the wok. This is another one I'm not carrying over until next year, although I am cooking with a wok more often. Again, I'm not going to put any pressure on it. I'm just going to have it come as it comes. If I get more energy back from dialysis, maybe we'll revisit it. But I also don't know how many of the items I can cook in the wok will have the sodium content I'm going to be allowed to have. Number 4, find my new favorite farmer's market. Did that. We went there. Layla can go there. We're looking forward to going again when everything opens back up in May. Number 5, read a new fantasy series. I did not do this. With feeling as crummy as I've felt, a lot of this year has been rereading. I'm a comfort reader and I love to reread books when I am feeling awful, and I felt the worst I've ever felt in my life this year physically. So I have reread The Wheel of Time this year. I have reread a bunch of different books and series this year, but I did not start a new one. I think this one is one I'm going to carry over because I really do want to add more fantasy series to my list of things I can reread in the future. And finally, number 6 for this category is make a Scotch egg. Again, has not happened. I don't remember if I carried this one over or not. I still really want one. It was a plan for later in the year and things just fell apart. That's going to be a theme. I'm just saying. The next category is fun and recreation, which was one of the other categories I wanted to focus on, although my list is a lot shorter for this one. First and foremost, visit the Stanley Hotel. We haven't done that yet because the Stanley Hotel is not dog friendly. That's something we really want to do, but we weren't sure if we were going to travel up to Estes Park, which is only an hour and a half from where we live, and stay somewhere that is dog friendly and then leave Layla in her crate. It just didn't seem like a good idea. Now that we have acclimated Layla to daycare and to being boarded, which we had to do earlier this year, and we're definitely going to be doing more of when I'm training to learn how to do dialysis, we have an opportunity now. I'll still be doing dialysis, but there are ways that we can take maybe a weekend trip up there, possibly for our 10-year anniversary. So hopefully the Stanley Hotel which if you didn't know is the hotel Stephen King was staying in, which inspired him to write The Shining, and I'm a huge Stephen King fan, so that is something I definitely want to do in the future. Number 8 is take Layla on a road trip. We've taken her on some day trips. The big road trip we wanted to take her on was this summer to see my sister in Oregon. If you've been following me this year, then you'll know that that trip changed dramatically a week or two before we went. Jesse wound up staying home with Layla. I wound up flying out there because my brother-in-law, who is the one who lives out there, wound up having some pretty catastrophic health problems at that time. He has recovered, thankfully. However, that road trip it turned into me flying solo rather than Jess and I driving out there with Layla. So that is going to be something that will be on a later list, but probably not this year. I don't know how long of trips I'm going to be able to take, if any, with dialysis. And then finally, number 9, visit a new Denver museum quarterly. This I did. I visited the Botanic Gardens, which was new to me, and I became a member there. We also visited the other Botanic Gardens site, Chatfield Farms, for the Lavender Festival, so that was rad. We went to the Museum of Nature and Science, and then just most recently, we went to the Denver Zoo for the Christmas lights. So this is something that I really have enjoyed and I want to keep doing because living this close to the city, we're in the Denver metro, it makes it really easy to visit a lot of the museums, and I fucking love museums. The art museums are high on my list, but those will probably be a just me trip because no one else in my family really wants to go. I have one item for work and learning, which was originally it was to complete the immersion course, and then it turned into complete the making artwork course. I've gotten through both of those, but I'm gonna try and redo them again this year. And those courses are both related to my work, to art, to the business of art, etc. If you want more information about them, just ask and I'll let you know. Anyway, the next category is family and relationships. I had 2 items here. Number 11, host friends for dinner once a quarter. We are at 3 as of the filming of this. I'm filming this a little earlier than it's going up. We would like to have friends over before the end of the year, but I don't think that that's gonna happen knowing how sick I'm feeling. But we did have them over the other 3 quarters. So even if we don't finish it for this quarter, I'm gonna consider that a win. Number 12 is monthly breakfast or lunch dates with each kid. RJ and I knocked this one out of the park. Our Friday Euro dates have become legendary in our own minds. Sunny and I, not as often. However, part of that's been because of how I'm feeling and part of that's been because of how Sunny's feeling. So that's been a little rough, but we have managed to do it. So I would say, again, at least 3/4 of the way through this one, I'm taking it as a win. Definitely more than before that. The next 2 are health and wellness related, and I can tell you right up front, neither of these happened. And again, I sound like a broken record. I'm gonna keep blaming kidney failure because kidney failure is the reason behind a lot of these. But first one was hit my century ride on Peloton. Did not do that because I'm so exhausted that the thought of even getting on the Peloton is stressful to me. My hope, fingers crossed, and I talked about this in my goals video, is that I really want to get back on it because I really like it. Like, it gives me energy. The music is great. I really, really love it. However, I need to get a little bit more energy back first. And my sister said I should expect that after I've gotten used to dialysis. And so at that point, I hope to do it. So that will definitely be when I carry over to next year. The second one was give up soda. Not only did I not give it up, I kind of picked up the habit a little harder again. But my dietitian said it was okay because I've been so nauseated for the past 6 months, most of the year, but especially in the last 6 months, and even worse in the last 3. I've lost weight without trying, because I'm not eating, because my appetite is so bad. So soda sometimes is the only calories I can manage to bring myself to take in, and I'll have to go with that. I do want to give it up, but I don't know if that's feasible right now. Continuing down the lane of things I didn't do, the next 2 are spiritual and personal growth, and if you have been following me for any amount of time, you know exactly what I'm going to say. Number 15 is join a UU congregation, and number 16 is to join a UU choir. Nope. I've actually kind of figured out why that hasn't happened, and I can't blame this one on dialysis or kidney failure. This one I'm blaming on having a really inaccurate view of how much time I have. I do work on Sundays. I work on Sunday afternoons when I live stream, but in the mornings I don't work, and I always figured I'd have time to go to the church. Problem is I've also been shopping at that time or sleeping. That is because of the kidney failure. So I realized that in order to really make this a priority, I was going to have to reshuffle how the rest of my week looked to open up that space. So that is definitely going to be something I'm looking at doing in the new year once we start getting into the routine of dialysis. And then the joining the choir comes after joining the congregation. hasn't happened yet. But the congregation I want to join has a really great choir. So once I join it, then the choir hopefully should follow, assuming I have the energy to do it. I may not while I'm on dialysis, but we'll see. Number 17, which is the only one on the financial list, is to contribute to family savings each month. Not the whole year, but I did do that. So we'll take it as a kind of there. The last group of these is all physical environment, an area. Well, if you saw my goals video, I feel like I knocked out of the park. I hit it. I hit a homer. Homer Simpson. Number 18, hire a regular cleaning service. We did. We have them come in every other week, and it is the best thing I could possibly have done for my mental health and my physical health, because cleaning takes it a lot out of me. I've talked about this a lot in other videos about the privilege of it and how I have some strange feelings about it. And I grew up not only at the poverty line, but also with parents who were hoarders. So I have a lot of trauma and weirdness kind of associated with cleaning and cleanliness and all that. And hiring a cleaning service was not only a financial hit for us to have to make room for, but also a big hit to my mental health, to my self-esteem. And it took a lot for me to kind of get through that, but I'm so glad we did. And I cannot wait to continue the year with them. We're gonna give them a holiday bonus, and they're fucking awesome, and I appreciate them so much, and it just makes life better. Number 19, finish all the walls in the house. I did not do this year. I did make some progress, but not as much as I would have liked, so that will probably be something I carry over into the new year. Number 20, complete a yearly home maintenance schedule. Did that. Woohoo! Number 22, redo my closet. Originally, I meant to do this with Alpha, then I realized I didn't need to do it with Alpha. This was actually the first item on my bucket list that I accomplished, and I accomplished it back in February. And the only changes I've had to make in the past year have been to add another shoe rack, which I just did during Vlogmas, and I was way more excited about it than I probably should have been, and move a couple of things around on my shelves, but other than that, it's been working great, so I'm happy about it. And then the final item on my bucket list was to decorate my front porch seasonally. Number 22, I also did that, so hell yeah. So I would say that overall, in terms of success, I would say that my success was varied in this past year when it came to my bucket list, and that's okay. I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel guilty, honestly. The only one I even partly feel guilty about is the church one, and that's purely because it was on my goals like every single month and it just kept not happening. But ultimately, I recognize there are the reasons that I didn't accomplish things that have to do with being in kidney failure, and then there are the reasons I didn't accomplish things because I just didn't do it. And that's okay. I understand that I didn't do it, and I'm not gonna like pat myself on the back for not doing it, but I'm also not gonna hate on myself either, because what's the point of that? The point now is to move to this next year and to see what I want to accomplish in the next 365 days. I can't fucking count. What is wrong with me today? Should I blame that on kidney failure too? Maybe. That was in my bullet journal. My bullet journal next year, if you haven't already seen it, it's kind of a half, like a pseudo bullet journal. It's gonna be entirely work related. So that will not hold things like this. So what I did was instead I changed my vision board page, my vision board spread in my Moxie Life planner for my personal life to put the 2020 to put my bucket list in. I really wasn't gonna make a vision board this year anyway, because I'm just really not feeling it. So this was a good use of the space. And I will say that in some cases, there are spots to write down what I did or to check off if it's like take a certain amount of weeks off or whatever, to write down, like just to check it off when it's done, because that is one thing I was sort of doing in my bullet journal, just scribbling in the margins. I didn't have a good spot to track it, but I also didn't want to do an elaborate tracker because a lot of these don't need that. So I just wanted to add certain spots with like dots to check off or whatever. So if you want to see a full picture of this, just let me know and I'll show you in an upcoming video. I'm also organizing this once again by the different areas of life in the Moxie Life. And this time around, it's a little bit more dispersed, but it does reflect more of my focus for this year, which is different than last year. For personal, I have 3, 2 of which are returning. The first one is to read a new fantasy series, and I did leave myself a spot to write down what fantasy series it was. The second one is to make a Scotch egg, because I still really want to do that. And the third is to create an evening ritual. I'm so miserable, and my nighttime routine is all surrounded in terms of helping me fall asleep and escape the misery until the next morning. What I want for next year is to add just a little bit more ritual to it, to feel a little bit more peaceful and to maybe shift my thoughts about it a little out of the cranky negative and a little bit more into at least the neutral. Even if it's just adding a candle, adding something to my evening routine that makes it more of a ritual than a routine is really important to me this year. And I imagine it's not something I'm gonna really fully be able to start doing until we incorporate dialysis at home. Our first month or so is gonna be in the center while I'm training. All of these probably are gonna reflect at some point, most of them at least, in my goals. The next section is fun and recreation. Number 4, take 3 weeks off over the course of the year for whatever reason, not counting dialysis. I have 3 little check marks for that. I don't know when those weeks off are gonna be. Hopefully one around the holidays like I try to do. Hopefully one in the summer. And I don't know about the other one, but I wanna make sure to have 3 weeks off. Ideally, once a quarter, take a week off, although I won't be doing that in the first quarter because I will be like basically half working while I'm learning dialysis. Number 5, also in fun and recreation, is to continue what I did last year and visit a museum once a quarter. I did not put new museum because there's only so many. And sometimes I just want to go to the Botanic Gardens, but I would like to at least make a couple of them new. And I did give myself spots to write down which museums that they are. And then number 6, the last in fun and recreation. This is a big one. This is one of my stretch goals for 2023, and that is to walk the Denver multi-use trail system. Denver has over 80 miles. That's not right. Is that right? Some large amount of miles of trails that go all over the city and in some of the surrounding metro areas. They're like beautiful, they're different spots. You can ride bikes on them, you can take your dog on them, and there's maps and everything. And Jesse and I have walked on some of them, and what we would like to do is walk all of them over the course of the year. I don't have the energy to do long amounts of walks at any given time, but if we make a point of it, we should be able to cover most of it. If there's any that are really like more hikey than walky, we might have to exclude those. I want to be able to walk them. I don't want to have to hike them, basically. So that's the hope. And I'm really excited to do that with him and Layla. Maybe the kids too. We'll see if they want to show up with us. The next category is work and learning, and this one is bigger than last year because I do want to put a little bit more emphasis on the learning part of my work world. Number 1 is to complete the Art Within, which will be the first. I know when I did my goals video, I was like, I don't know which one I'm going to do first. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Art Within. It's a new course by Jenna Rainey about your art practice and creative practices and things like that. And because restoring my creative practice is a big work goal for me next year, since kidney failure basically punted it to the curb, completing this course over the next 3 months is going to be something that's going to be really helpful for me, I hope. Number 8 is to redo the immersion course. Number 9 is to redo the Making Art Work course. They're all big courses related to art, business, and a mixture of the two, and I just want to get through all, like 1 a quarter, basically. And then number 10, also course related, to do the HB90 Bootcamp each quarter to keep me accountable to it, which is my work goal planning system. Most of these are about, this whole work and learning section for this next year is really about enrichment. I have 2 family and relationships items. Number 11, celebrate our 10-year wedding anniversary. This might be when we decide to go to the Stanley Hotel for a weekend. I don't know. But Jess and I will be married for 10 years this July, and we would like to do something, probably not a very big something. We haven't even done our honeymoon yet, but something just for the 2 of us, maybe an overnight, put Layla in boarding so we can celebrate it, because I love him, man. Number 12 is to host Friends Quarterly. The next category is health and wellness, which is a little girthier this year with repeats because starting dialysis, health and wellness is definitely going to be a focus for me in 2023. Number 13 is a repeat. I want to hit my century ride on Peloton, hoping, fingers crossed, that I can manage to have the energy to get back on it. I mean, that in and of itself would feel like an accomplishment right now. Number 14 is kind of inevitable, but at the same time, I don't want to say it is, knock on wood, and that is to graduate from home hemodialysis training, which is where I'm going to train to do home hemodialysis, which is the School of Redundancy School. The training for the other kind of dialysis, peritoneal dialysis, is much faster. You're only training for about a week. But to learn to do hemo, which is where they actually pull your blood out of your system, it's 3 to 5 weeks, and they don't send you home till they feel like you're ready. So graduating from that is definitely on my bucket list for 2023. Number 15 is to find a therapist that I feel confident with so that the therapist can help me make it through both this year of starting dialysis and doing my no-buy year, which we'll talk more about in a minute. It's been a while since I have been in regular therapy, and while I have continued to take my antidepressant, I have not had the therapy side of things. So definitely bringing therapy in as a resource for this year. And then number 16 is to find a living donor. If you are interested in potentially giving me your kidney, let me know. I'll give you the info. The next category is spiritual and personal growth. I've only got one. It is a repeat from last year. And I'm not even adding the choir. I just want to join a UU congregation. That's number 17. Join a UU congregation, for the love of God. Except it's not really God because it's UU, but whatever. The financial is a little bit more robust this year. It's one of my focuses. First one, number 18, is to actually write a budget. Jesse and I have had budget guidelines, but we have never fully written a budget before. So that is something I want to do. Now, ideally more than that, but that's a good starting point, especially for someone like me with a lot of stress about money. Number 19, this last year we have accrued some small amount of debt. We want to get that paid off this year. So that is paying off debt is on my bucket list. And then finally, number 20, the big one, one of the other stretch goals for the year is to complete my no-buy year. I will link that video down below if you'd like to know more about it, but ultimately it means that I am not buying any beauty or stationery stuff unless it meets one of my very slim exceptions, and I will not be doing delivery food for the next year. And that will take some therapy, as I said, and quite a bit. That's going to be a stretch goal for me. But I'm taking you along. There's going to be videos every month with accountability, so join for the ride. And then finally, the last section is physical environment, one that was pretty hearty in this last year, but this year it's going to be a little bit pulled back because I'm feeling really good about how we're doing with our house. Number 21 is to plant my green stalk, which is my vertical garden. Plant that in the spring around Mother's Day and have a nice summertime harvest. It was a lot of fun this last year and I want to do it again. Number 22 is to create a cozy dialysis room that does not feel, I'm in parentheses, which is not written here, that doesn't feel like a sick room. Since I'm going to be doing at-home dialysis, I want the place I'm going to be sitting to feel cozy and nice and cottagecore. No, I don't think it's good. I get Sunny to do that. Sunny knows all about the cottagecore. I'm too old for that shit. But like, just a nice cozy dialysis room that feels nice to be in. And then number 23, my last bucket list item. Find and hang a statement art piece in the living room. Very specific. I have other walls I want to finish in the house, goals I want to finish, but this big wall right next to me, this big wall, it became extremely obvious to me when we moved our couch to get the Christmas tree up. So the couch is currently in a different configuration. How blank this wall is. I have art or an idea of what art I want for every other wall in the house, or not every wall, but every room in the house. There's either something already here that just needs to be hung or something online that I have an eye on. This wall is the one that I need to find something big and awesome because it's a big wall. The stairs are behind it. I need something good for this wall. And that is going to be a bucket list item for me, kind of akin to getting the houseplant for the front room. I know where I wanted a houseplant. I knew exactly that vibe I wanted, but it was just finding the right plant at the right time with the right level of preparation. This is kind of the same concept. That is my bucket list for 23. That was my bucket list for 22. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you've got something you did this year that you could check off your list, what was it? And if there's something coming up that you want to check off your list, what is it? Let me know all about it in the comments below. Thank you so much for another amazing year. I might have felt like shit, but I didn't feel like shit when I was with you guys. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this year unfolds because it is going to be probably one of the most transitional and different I've ever experienced. As much as it's scary, the planner in me, the person who loves to learn new routines and shit in me is really kind of excited, scared and excited. It's so weird. Whatever. Anyway, just let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, friends. Peace.